Greetings, Dr. Will here. Welcome back to the serialization of What You Don't Know, Successfully Lead a Software Project Without Tech Expertise. Episode 8, Chapter 3, How and What to Organize, Life Cycles and Teams, Part 2. Models developed for avionics systems, nuclear reactors, or medical equipment, where human lives, health, or livelihoods are at stake, are not the same as those developed for web-based SaaS MVPs. One reason Agile methods are presently in vogue is that they support well the rapid turnaround development of web-based applications. The essential parts of these processes need to be retained and not cut out to save time and money. More on all that later. Whatever process is being used for your project, it should be defined well enough so that all of the team members know what they are supposed to be doing and are doing all the same things all the same way. If not, then you will have the not-so-rare pleasure of watching your project descend into chaos. Organizations. Quote from Guy Kawasaki. Quote, "The best reason to start an organization is to make meaning, to create a product or service to make the world a better place." Close quote. Besides the project organization, there are several different kinds of structures in play. Founders often want to know what legal structure to use for their business. I'm not a lawyer, and I wouldn't pretend to offer legal advice on what structure to use. My lay opinion is that a founder ought to have a liability-limiting legal business structure. Setting something up is easy and cheap. Founders need to talk to their attorney, even if it's their cousin Vinny. More often than is comfortable, comments are posted on SaaS founders groups and various social media sites looking for the cheapest possible solution for all manner of things. I get it. Nobody wants to throw money away, especially on a product that mightn't survive its first demo. That said, on too lean a mixture, too little capital, is the most certain non-technical way to fail. Manifested as cash flow problems, it accounts for 82% of small business failures. Any economic shock, can you say COVID? I knew you could put the business underwater. The next step is often borrowed money, and that way lies madness. Choosing not to spend a couple $100 on a liability-limiting legal structure to save money should cause one to examine whether one has sufficient wherewithal to start a business. This is obviously not a problem facing an in-house manager who inherits their company's legal structure, or an owner-operator who already ought to have some kind of legal structure for their business. In these cases, if the project might become a marketable product, then questions about legal or other organizational structures to support it can wait until after the due diligence about whether to pursue transforming the project into a product. Creating a set of accounting books is another form of organizational structure. The same caveats and arguments apply as above. I'm not an accountant. There are plenty of accounting packages that can get you started. Founders should talk to their CPAs. If they don't have a CPA because they need to save money, then they may need to consider their life choices. Founders often hear advice to hire a VA, virtual assistant. This is good advice. There's so much to manage and do in creating a software business that a competent assistant becomes a true force multiplier, making the founder far more effective by focusing them on the essential high-level tasks rather than things that are easily delegated. A manager who is expected to run a software project among other duties, and an owner-operator should also have assistants. One of the worst ways businesses choose to save money these days is by getting rid of assistants, formerly known as secretaries. Somebody has to do the essential support tasks, so the manager or owner ends up doing them instead of doing things that only they can do. To CTO or not to CTO, that is the question. Of course, every small business owner is a CEO and a president. What is significant about a CXO is that they are generally an officer of the company. Check with your attorney or Google Esquire to clarify the ramifications of being an officer in a company. Whether called a CTO, a Chief Technology Officer, or simply a project or technical lead or manager is not that important. The question is whether the role is needed to manage the project's technical work. The intent of this book is not to make the founder, manager, or owner into a technical lead. The intent is to give the founder, manager, or owner enough background to get things started well enough so that there's a fighting chance to survive to the point where hiring a technical lead becomes valuable and cost-effective. It makes looking for and hiring that technical lead a more manageable process by improving the understanding of the resumes seen and the questions and answers in the interview process. Finally, it will enhance effective communication with the newly hired lead. Ultimately, once a technical lead is hired, the project can be turned over to them, and they will have a better chance of success by starting from a better place than a dumpster fire of buggy code. Teams. Software practitioners come and go. Team stability is crucial. Process documentation and strict adherence to it are more important the more volatile the team environment. The gig economy has done nothing to stabilize team environments.
Early-stage SaaS products are often, usually, exceptionally cost-focused, cheap organizations, usually, looking for the cheapest engineering solution. It is often recommended that they staff up through a gig site like Upwork or TopTal, or well, there are many. Don't get me wrong, some seriously good developers are available through those platforms. But cobbling together a multinational team of developers through a gig site is a complex operation, and the team can be difficult to manage. Time zone differences alone add complexity. Contractors can be considered to be part of the team in a total force kind of way. Still, they are hired guns, highly useful resources, especially when solving specific, well-defined problems with definable completeness criteria. But they are not in it for the long haul the way the founders and their employees are. Irrespective of how experienced or competent the team members may be, their work must be documented. Is that more expensive? Yes. If a founder cannot afford to hire people who can maintain their documentation as part of their project work, then they ought to seriously consider whether they should be starting a project. Not all documentation is created equal. It is essential for the most critical documentation to exist, but having no documentation is a curse on the project, an existential threat to the long-term survival.
That ends Chapter 3, How and What to Organize, Life Cycles and Teams, Part 2. Join us next time for Episode 9, Part 3 of Chapter 3. That's it for me, for you, for now. Be careful out there. Bye.